If you think about corporates, India is the world's third largest power market. Corporates consume more than 52% of the power in India, and that share is only going to grow. So if you go to Thailand, corporates consume 70% of the power. Right? It's a humongous market. We can save our clients about 35 to 45% of their power cost. The great news about this country is there's good sunlight everywhere. So solar has a good potential everywhere. But solar power isn't that expensive now. So you can achieve a good cost point as well.
Welcome to this episode of Sustainability Karma. I'm your host, Hannah Pathak.
And today we have with us Kuldeep Jain, the founder and managing director of CleanMax Enviro Energy Solutions. Under his leadership, CleanMax has catered to prominent Indian and global corporates. CleanMax is one of India's leading renewable energy company in the commercial and industrial sector, with 2 gigawatt of operating renewable assets spread across India, Middle East and Southeast Asia. Driven by a highly skilled and professional team, CleanMax is focused on the vision of being the sustainability partner of choice for corporates, having started with the energy sale model for rooftop solar in 2011. Welcome, Kuldeep.
Thank you so much, Nana.
So, how do you look back on your short and successful journey so far?
It's been merely 15 years running CleanMax. And as a background, and I grew up in a professional family. I did my CA, ICWA, went for an MBA at IIM Ahmedabad, joined McKinsey & Company. I was there for 12 years. I did head up McKinsey's energy consulting kind of work in India around that time. And I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I thought sustainability and net zero was a big new thing that was going to come. I could see it with a lot of our being McKinsey's corporate clients, that this was important to them and the direction in which the planet would soon be headed. And therefore, once I'd made a global partner at McKinsey, which was roughly 2009, I decided to leave and I founded CleanMax. And at CleanMax, we have a mission from January 2011 when we started. Our mission from day one has been net zero partners to corporates. So that's what we do. We don't serve the governments or the utilities and so on. We just serve corporates who incidentally make up more than half of the energy consumption in the country, right? And are very committed to both going green as well as saving costs, which you can do by going green. And that's what we've been doing for the last 15 years.
So, what are the factors that helped CleanMax achieve success in this short span of time?
I think in any business, there are two main things. One is you've got to catch a big trend early. And in 2011, we're literally selling the first few rooftop solar PPAs door to door. So we did catch the trend early. As well as you've got to have focus, because focus breeds excellence, right? So we focused on the corporate segment. We therefore were able to add many more products over time. We're able to add many more geographies over time. The other thing, of course, we've always hired and developed very good people. We're able to build up a great business.
So, what geographies are you focusing on?
We're a proud Indian company. We are headquartered in Mumbai, but in India we have 5-6 offices across. So we are in India, Middle East, Southeast Asia.
So, how have corporates' needs emerged over time, and how are you incorporating it in your working?
I think lots of things change, of course, when you think about corporate needs, corporate behavior. So one is cost, and the other is what percentage of my emissions am I abating with this? Because people want material changes. And that's what I like about renewables for corporates. Because power is a big part of corporates' emissions. Power comes under what are called scope 2 emissions, and it's a big part of a company's emissions. And if you can substitute brown power which you're buying from the grid with cheaper but green power, which is what companies like us or other such companies do, then you can save the company a lot of money. And second is you can materially reduce their emissions.
So for our listeners, can you elaborate what are scopes? Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 emissions?
Slightly technical, but yes, it's important to understand. मुझे भी थोड़ा समय लगा to really grasp. Scope 1 is really carbon footprint from your own operations outside of power. So like, if you have lubricants in your machines, that came from petroleum, which has a certain carbon emission. That's Scope 1. Scope 2 is power in your operations. Like you have a factory which is consuming power, right? So that's Scope 2. And Scope 3 is to make, to produce, transport and use your product. What were all the carbon emissions that occurred? So most companies, when they say net zero, are really talking about Scope 1 and Scope 2, which is within my production processes. What is my carbon footprint, both in my process as well as in my power? And most people, when you typically hear someone saying net zero by 2030, what they typically mean Scope 1 and 2. There are few companies though who are keen on even Scope 3. So quite amazing, Apple, and they are a joint venture partner of ours, and I'm a huge admirer of the company and its products. But Apple has a target that if anyone is using their devices anywhere in the world, that also is part of their Scope 3 emission. And they do look to how do we abate that and what investments do we make to abate that on behalf of our customers, right? So that's Scope 3.
And now they're also coming up with Scope 4 and Scope 5. So I think the number of scopes are only going to increase.
Scope is going out of scope.
So we talked about corporates. So what are your offerings and highlights for them?
So, the way we think about it, anything a company needs to be net zero, we will provide. So what are the various things we provide? One is rooftop solar, particularly if you're a manufacturing enterprise, you make cars, tractors, motorcycles, beer, anything. You have a large roof. So we provide rooftop solar on top, and that's one segment of our business. A second is that you can make power not at the same site as the consumption. If you are a manufacturer, you use a highway and pay a toll. We can use the grid lines and pay the relevant toll to move our green electricity from place of production to place of consumption. Right, it's also called open access and so on. But basically, you can make green power anywhere in India, and not anywhere in India, but in the same state of consumption is where you make the power and you supply them. So, for instance, if you have a factory in Mumbai or Pune, you make the power in Nagpur and you wheel the power there. It can be solar or wind or often both.
How is CleanMax staying ahead of the competition using innovation?
When it's 2025, people are saying, look, my targets are for 2030. So I need you to really ramp up big, and I need to start addressing all kinds of emissions. So the innovations we've been doing are not like technology innovations, but just the areas we invest in to help our clients be net zero. And it's all very mission centric. So a company needs these kind of things to be net zero. So we are like, we'll provide it. And so we can provide our customers, oh, you need rooftop, you need open access power, you need some carbon credits of different types. We'll provide it all.
So can you elaborate on carbon credits program?
We have a very interesting program which I'm very happy about, very proud of, which is around cook stove distribution in poor districts in India, which is, in India about a third of the households, which means predominantly women, are still cooking with firewood, right? And it's a very primitive type of thing, and there's a lot of smoke which comes out into the house, which affects woman health, which affects child health and so on. And the carbon emission is also very high because the cook stove being used is inefficient. So we have a different type of cook stove which is much more efficient and basically धुआं नहीं निकलता है और धुआं बहुत कम निकलता है, which is also better for women health, also better for child health, and has less carbon footprint. So in the poorest district of Maharashtra, which is Gadchiroli, we are in the midst of implementing a pilot program. We are distributing 20,000 cook stoves for 20,000 households. We're not a believer in giving things for free because freebies make it wasted. We are making people pay about 500 rupees for a 2,000 rupee cook stove to ensure that they are keen that they're going to use the product and so on. But the way we make money, because we are subsidizing sort of this, is by creating carbon credits out of the usage of the cook stove and selling those credits to corporates. So, lots of different innovations around different types of carbon credits, which also interestingly has societal benefits. So, the obvious benefits in the cook stove program are around, women health, because it's almost always in those kind of households a woman who's doing the cooking. It's about also reproductive health, it's about child health and so on. These are all the benefits you get, along with the fact that it's a for-profit initiative for us.
So, given the emerging known challenges and unknown future challenges, how do you envision CleanMax in the next 5 years?
I love the mission centricity with which we started out, and it's really been a little bit of a pole star which has guided our wind projects. Then we added wind solar hybrids, and we added carbon as a business. So there's just a lot of things you can do on the whole sustainability for corporates kind of theme, and lots of geographies you can add. I mean, we're in 5 countries now. And we started our international foray in the last decade. So, the growth has really surprised us. If you think about corporates, India is the world's 3rd largest power market. Corporates consume more than 52% of the power in India. And that share is only going to grow. So if you go to Thailand, corporates consume 70% of the power, right? So, it's a humongous market. We can save our clients about 35 to 45% of their power cost by going green. So doing the right thing is incredibly profitable as far as corporate power consumption is concerned.
So, what are the main drivers and triggers that could help India in adapting renewables?
I think as a nation, firstly, we should be proud of the pace at which we have grown our green transition and renewables adoption, right? We've really done very well. The reality today is in much of the developed world like US or Europe or so on, if you want to put up a new green power plant, it'll take you about 5-6 years to just get a grid connection permission and to interconnect to the grid. So in comparison, we as a nation have done much, much better. So we should be firstly proud of what we've achieved. But I do think that the current sort of thought process of just to have a market wherein generators can generate green power and consumers have the choice of whom they want to buy their power from, right? In a sense, you're creating a market economy and you're letting the decisions be made by the marketplace. So who should consume how much? Who is the producer, who's the consumer? These are all better allowed and made in the marketplace. And that's the direction in which we are heading. And therefore, we are seeing very quick uptick in renewables consumption. So my own view is more of the pro-choice kind of policies. Why just large corporates? Why can't every household choose who its supplier is? That would work out so much better. And so, I think that's the direction in which we are conceptually headed. And I think if we allowed individuals also and small businesses and basically everyone to make their own choice of which power they want at what price and so on, that would really create a very fast-paced change in adoption of green energy.
You have been focusing on hybrid. So what made you focus on hybrid?
Well, that's simple. In a hot country, when it becomes cooler, the wind blows more. So wind power really takes off from evening through the night and early morning. Solar power is a daytime. So, it's time of day very complementary. Seasonal is very complementary. So, we have a concentrated monsoon where it's cloudy and rainy. So then if it's cloudy and rainy, solar output is less. But it's also windy during July to September. So you have a lot of wind output. So it's complementary by seasons. So essentially, the combination of wind and solar can meet 85 to 90% of your consumption. And when we understood this, we said the writing's on the wall. The better solution for our clients is wind and solar as a combination. And therefore, we have to learn how to do it. That's the product which is going to win. Wind and solar together is a product offering which is going to win in the marketplace. So we started our wind journey in 2018. But now we are adding more than 300 megawatt every year. Right? So we are big installers of wind turbines. And in states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, all massive states where there is a lot of wind power, we are offering hybrid solutions.
You also have been focusing since 2011 on energy sale of solar rooftop.
We love our rooftop business. We have about 1,700 operational rooftop solar power plants today as CleanMax. But it's about 20% of our energy sales. And what I love about rooftop is two things. One, particularly in manufacturing, is the first solution anyone adopts. Right? It's always, oh, this is my factory, let's just put solar panels on the factory roof. Right? So it's the great point of entry into a client relationship. It's a land and expand product. So that's our rooftop business. And as I said, 1,700 rooftop solar power plants. Dubai alone, we have more than 100 operational rooftop solar power plants. We just commissioned our first rooftop solar plant in Saudi Arabia. Proud moment for Team CleanMax. So, I think that business has a great future.
And which states are doing well when it comes to solar and hybrid?
In India, we are present in, I think, 17 out of the 25 states. So I think the great news about this country is there's good sunlight everywhere. So, solar has a good potential everywhere. And so it's really, I think, and in all emerging markets, not just in India, but also in Middle East and Thailand, you can save about 40% plus of your power cost by going green. So, the value proposition is just stupendous, right? I've been to so many client meetings and people just say, why hasn't everyone just shifted to this already? Because the value proposition is 40% cost reduction, better for your ESG goals, and you can talk to your clients and your board and everyone else about it. So, it's just great.
So 2070 is the target for net zero as of now. So how do you see India meeting that target?
I think if we allow the marketplace to determine its choice, it'll be far easier because that creates a little bit of a mass movement of sorts. So what is the marketplace? Right? If you think about just power, 50%, as I said, is corporate power demand. Right? If you allow them to make their own choice, they will vote for a cheaper, greener solution. So you'll move that much quicker. About 15-17% is households. I allow households to also choose whether you want green or not. That'll move quicker because even they could by and large save. And some things we are doing in terms of a subsidized rooftop solar scheme, which I think is a fantastic initiative. But we can do more. And even in the power which is coming through your line into your meter, if households are allowed a choice, that would really help. And then the third sector is agricultural, where you have agricultural pumps. And even that sector will really benefit through green adoption because today, because we don't charge much to a farmer and we shouldn't to water their field, we actually give them power typically between 3 and 5 a.m. instead of giving power at 4 a.m., once we have a lot more solar, you can give daytime power to irrigate the fields, right? Why should the farmer be forced to get up at 3 or 4 a.m.? That's why if you see any survey of farming families, most of them wish that their future generations do not engage in farming. Most of the people who are farmers today are not keen on remaining that. One of the hardships is this, so we should solve for it by irrigating our fields with solar power. And yes, we shouldn't charge farmers too much, but solar power isn't that expensive now. So, you can achieve a good cost point as well and give that energy in the day. So I think just across all segments, a lot more adoption of green by allowing everyone to make the choice. And people then invariably vote for the cheaper and better outcome, which is green power.
So that brings me to the last question. If you have to condense our conversation focused on hybrid and solar specifically and ESG, so how would you do that, and what will be your message for our listeners?
My message for everyone on sustainability karma is that it's firstly, if you're here and listening to this conversation, you're someone who's interested in this topic. So thank you for that interest. And thank you, Naina, for all the good work you guys do in spreading such great messages. And the other thing I would say, it's all these big journeys we talk about for the planet, like net zero amongst others, are a sum total of billions of individual decisions. So we all have our part to play in how we consume things, what preferences we express at home, at our work, right? And all those billions of choices add up for the planet. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Kuldeep, for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself.
This is Naina Gautam signing off for Sustainability Karma.
Hope you like this program. We look forward to your feedback on our WhatsApp number 9818120554. For participation in this program, write to us at sustainability.karma@gmail.com. Looking forward to meet you again at the same time next week with a new episode and a new guest. Till then, goodbye from all of us. Sustainability Karma, a podcast series on sustainable development, sustainability and ESG.